Let me ask you something. You have the biggest star in women's basketball. You have a player who in her very first season turned a near-empty arena into the hottest ticket in the entire NBA. You have the most compelling human sports story of the last decade walking around in your uniform every single day. And when you sit down to make your promotional hype video for the 2026 home opener, the first home game of a season everyone has been counting down to, you lead with your head, coach and your assistant coach before you show your superstar's face. Not even a quick flash, not even a half-second cut. You put the coaches first. I am Dre Fiver, and this is Street Hoops, and we need to have a serious, uncomfortable conversation about what is going on inside the Indiana Fever front office right now. Because, from where I'm sitting, this organization is doing everything in its power to shoot itself in the foot before a single game has even been played. Let's start with the basics, because context matters here, and I want you to fully understand the magnitude of what we are talking about. In the 2024 wnba season, Caitlin Clark's rookie year, the Indiana Fever set a new single-season home attendance record for any team in wnba history, drawing over 340,000 fans through the doors of Gainbridge Fieldhouse. According to league data compiled and reported by multiple outlets, the wnba as a whole saw a 48% jump in average attendance that year, with 154 league-wide sellouts, a 242% increase over the prior season, 154 sellouts in a single year. And the Fever were the engine driving the entire train. According to reporting from Bleacher Report, Indiana's combined home and road attendance easily set a new single-season league record with over 640,000 fans across 40 games. The next closest team wasn't even in the same zip code, statistically speaking. You could not buy a Fever ticket unless you were hunting the resale market and willing to pay a premium to do it. That was 2024. That was year one. The building was sold out before games started. Road arenas across the country relocated Fever away games to larger NBA-sized venues just to handle the demand. The word that best describes that moment in Indiana Fever history is electric. Unstoppable. Historic. Now fast forward to today, May 2026. Year 3 of the Caitlin Clark era. The home opener against the Dallas Wings is 4 days away, and according to reporting from Bro Bible, the Indiana Fever were struggling to sell out that game. Let me say that again clearly, because it is genuinely hard to believe when you compare it to what I just described. The Indiana Fever, with Caitlin Clark on their roster, healthy in year 3, coming off a nationally televised preseason, with all 44 regular season games broadcast nationwide, could not sell out their home opener. And it gets worse. According to the same reporting, the cheapest ticket available for the worst seat in Gainbridge Fieldhouse was priced at over $97 at one point. $97 for the worst seat in the building. Meanwhile, that same seat for a later home game against another opponent was going for $21. The same seat. Same arena. Less than a month apart. The disparity is not subtle. It is a flashing neon sign telling you exactly what went wrong. Analysts have been weighing in on what this means. As reported by the Pro Football Network, commentator Jason Whitlock went on record calling the ticket sales situation a troubling sign for the league's future, warning that the goodwill Clark generated for the wnba could be at risk if fans feel priced out and undervalued. Now, I don't always agree with Whitlock's framing, and I want to be clear that this is not a story about Clark losing her star power, because she absolutely has not, but the underlying concern about what aggressive pricing does to a fanbase that was built on accessibility and grassroots excitement, that part is worth taking seriously. Here is what I think actually happened. The Fever looked at the demand from 2024 and 2025, saw the valuations climbing, and according to reporting from Hardwood Heroics, the franchise valuation went from $90 million in 2024 to $560 million by 2026. A gain of nearly $500 million in 2 years, and they concluded that the market could support premium pricing at every tier. And in a vacuum, that instinct is not entirely wrong. Franchise valuations do not lie. The money that has flowed into Indiana because of number 22 is genuinely staggering. But what they failed to account for is the specific nature of this fanbase and what it was built on. Clark's following did not come from corporate sponsors and luxury suite buyers. It came from people who watched her drain logo threes at Iowa and fell in love with women's basketball for the first time. It came from casual fans who crossed over. It came from families and kids and people who had never bought a wnba ticket in their lives. And when you price those people out, even once, even for one game, you risk breaking something that took years to build. But here is where it goes from a business conversation to a full-blown credibility problem, and this is the part that I personally find inexcusable. The Indiana Fever's response to the ticket sales situation was not to immediately lower prices, course-correct publicly, and communicate transparently with their fanbase. Their response, at least initially, was to put out a hype video promoting the home opener. And in that hype video, you see Stephanie White speak. You see assistant coach Brienne January speak. You see multiple players speak. And Caitlin Clark? The face of the franchise? The reason the building exists in the way it currently does? She gets a single clip of herself screaming in celebration. No words, no soundbite, a scream. That is what the marketing team decided to lead with when they were already struggling to move tickets. I don't want to pile on Coach White because I genuinely respect what she has built in Indiana, and I don't want to be dismissive of the other players on this roster who work incredibly hard and deserve their recognition. But from a pure marketing and communication standpoint, this is malpractice. You do not have a moment of confusion about whose face goes on every piece of promotional content this organization produces. You just don't. The data is not ambiguous. The attendance history is not ambiguous. The valuation jump from $90 million to $560 million is not ambiguous. There is one reason, one primary, undeniable, historic reason that this franchise is where it is today. And that reason's highlight in your own promotional video is a soundless scream. And then, and I need you to brace yourself for this, because it genuinely gets worse, as reported by Front Office Sports and confirmed by multiple outlets. The Indiana Fever posted a social media graphic in late April that was created using artificial intelligence. The AI tool combined two separate images of Clark and Aaliyah Boston, and in doing so, completely mangled Caitlin Clark's hand in a way that was instantly noticeable to anyone who looked at the post. And how did the world find out the image was AI generated? Because Caitlin Clark herself left a comment on the post. According to reporting from Bleacher Report and Front Office Sports, Clark's comment read, and I quote, "New hand alert." Her own team posted a distorted AI image of her hand on social media, and she had to call it out herself in the comments section. That is where we are. The franchise would not exist in its current form without her, and the social media team cannot even produce a non-AI generated image of her hand correctly. And it did not stop there. According to reporting from Yardbarker and Yahoo Sports, just days after the AI hand debacle, the Fever's official account posted a lengthy motivational text on X/Twitter ahead of the season, the kind of hyped-up, buzzword-heavy language that immediately triggered fans who suspected it was also AI-generated. Fans flooded the comments accusing the team of relying on artificial intelligence for something as basic as writing a few promotional sentences. The team never clearly confirmed or denied it. Now, to be fair, I cannot tell you with certainty that the text was AI-generated, neither can anyone else without a definitive statement from the organization. But the optics of posting that kind of content days after your own superstar publicly called out your AI graphic? Terrible. Just terrible. Read the room. Now let me give you the flip side, because I am not here to be one-dimensional about this, and intellectual honesty matters on this channel. When you zoom out and look at the broader picture of this franchise and this league, there are legitimate reasons for optimism that should not be buried under the legitimate. Criticism. As reported by Hardwood Heroics citing Sportico data, the Fever's valuation hit $560 million in 2026, up from $90 million when Clark was drafted. According to reporting from multiple outlets, 17 of Indiana's 22 road games this season were relocated to larger NBA-sized arenas due to high demand from fans across the country. The wnba signed a media deal worth $200 million annually. All 44 Fever games are nationally televised. This is not a league in crisis. This is a league navigating the awkward middle stage of explosive growth, where the money is moving faster than some organizational structures can adapt. But here is the thing about that context: it actually makes the front office's missteps more frustrating, not less. You have more resources, you have more money, you have more exposure, you have a player who the entire country is watching. And in that environment, you are producing AI-distorted promotional graphics, burying your franchise player in your own hype videos, and pricing your most loyal fans out of the home opener. The gap between the opportunity this organization has been handed and what they are doing with it right now is genuinely difficult to look at. Let me also address the injury situation briefly, because it is impossible to talk about ticket sales and fan sentiment without acknowledging the elephant in the room from last year. According to ESPN and multiple beat reporters, Clark played just 13 games during the entire 2025 wnba season due to a cascading series of soft tissue injuries. Left quad, left groin, right groin. She missed the entire second half of the year and sat out while the Fever made their playoff run without her. When your most expensive ticket in the building, literally and figuratively, is absent for most of the season, fans who paid premium prices the year before are going to think twice about doing it again the following year. That is not irrational consumer behavior. That is people learning from experience. The Fever's ticket pricing strategy in 2026 did not account for the trust deficit they created through 2025, and they are paying for that now. There is also a very specific community complaint that I have to acknowledge because it is being talked about loudly among the most dedicated segment of Clark's fanbase, and it centers on the Raven Johnson draft pick. According to a widely circulated piece, just weeks before the 2026 NBA draft, Johnson made public statements describing Clark's fanbase in deeply negative terms on a podcast. With a large audience, the Fever then used their 10th overall pick to select Johnson. Now, I am going to be careful here, because I am not going to relitigate every word of that controversy on this channel, and I believe in judging players by what they do on the court. But what I will say is this: the optics of that sequence. Player publicly criticizes your fan base. Team drafts player weeks later without any meaningful public acknowledgement of the tension was handled about as poorly as something like that could possibly be handled. A clear, direct, public statement from the front office addressing the situation honestly could have gone a long way. Instead, there was silence, and silence has a way of telling its own story. Here is where Dre Fiver lands after all of this. I believe in Caitlin Clark. I believe she is going to have the season we have all been waiting for, a healthy, complete, dominant year 3, where she reminds everyone in the country exactly why this entire conversation is happening. I believe in Coach Stephanie White's ability to run a championship-caliber locker room, and I believe in the core of this roster. Aaliyah Boston is a superstar in her own right. Kelsey Mitchell is one of the most underrated guards in the league. Sophie Cunningham is healthy and hungry and back to being the enforcer this team needs. The basketball is going to be excellent. I genuinely believe that. But I also believe that the Indiana Fever front office has a serious and growing credibility problem with the exact fan base that built this whole thing from the ground up. When you price people out of the home opener, post AI-generated graphics, your own player has to publicly mock, bury said player in your own promotional content, and handle roster controversy with institutional silence, you are not just making tactical errors. You are chipping away at something that took 2 years of Caitlin Clark's greatness to construct. And while $560 million valuations and national television deals are impressive numbers, the fan in Section 16 who used to sell out this building, the one the source material points out, now has 23 available seats sitting empty. That fan is watching. And right now, they are not sure the organization is watching back. The clock is ticking. May 9th is almost here. Gainbridge Fieldhouse should be electric. It should be a sold-out, standing-room-only celebration of the return of the best player in women's basketball, coming home healthy and ready. I hope it is. I genuinely do. But the front office needs to look in the mirror before opening night and ask themselves one honest question. Is everything we are doing worthy of the opportunity we have been given? Because right now, the answer is not as clear as it should be. That is what we've got today on Street Hoops, and I am very curious where you stand on all of it. Do you think the Fever front office is mismanaging the Caitlin Clark era, or is this a situation that gets fixed the moment tip-off happens on May 9th? Drop your take in the comments right now. I read every single one, and I will be responding. If this video resonated with you, hit that like button and make sure you share it with every wnba fan you know, because this conversation is too important to stay in one corner of the internet. And if you are not subscribed to Street Hoops yet, what is the holdup? Tap subscribe, hit the bell, and come back every time we drop, because we are going to be all over this season, from opening night to the finals. I'm Dre Fiver. This is Street Hoops. We'll see you next time.